What is going on, everybody? We are here doing our March Madness bracket. We're going to do the men and then the women. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the East. UConn's going to win this. It's just that simple. FAU is also going to pull this one off. And I think, honestly, I got to go with San Diego State. I want to go UAB. I think UAB could pull this one off. But San Diego State, they made a deep run last year. I think they got all the way to the championship. So it's like, God, I don't know if I can have them go in the first round. I think Yale pulls up an upset here. I think they beat Auburn. That's one of my upsets. One of the few. I don't think BYU or Morris Head State pull anything all or however you pronounce that college. I can't do that because I have no clue. Drake, I like Drake quite a bit. I think Drake could make a deep run here. Washington State, I just don't see him pulling off. Iowa State will also beat South Dakota State. I think just Iowa State is a better team in that situation. I don't see the upset quite happening. Houston beats Longwood. I think Nebraska knocks off Texas A&M. James Madison will knock off Wisconsin. I am big on me some James Madison. I think James Madison is going on a deep run, as you'll see here in a few seconds. They will have to go through Duke, though, as Duke ends up winning against Vermont. NC State, I think, can beat Texas Tech. Texas is not having a good first round here as two of their teams are falling just like that. I think NC State moves on. Kentucky beats Oklahoma. Florida will beat whoever wins this game. Boise State might be a good matchup. I don't know about Colorado quite as much, but I do think Florida will advance. Marquette will beat Western Kentucky. So let's go ahead and move down to the bottom half of this, the West and the Midwest. So North Carolina beats Wagner. I don't see any of the 16 seeds pulling an upset right now. I don't see either one of those two teams being Purdue. So I'm just going to go ahead and select both of those while we're here. Michigan State, Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State will win this. Michigan State really isn't as good as people think they are. St. Mary's will also win their game. Alabama will beat Charleston. New Mexico will knock off Clemson. New Mexico won the Mountain West, and the Mountain West is actually a very, very good conference this year. So I think New Mexico will pull off the win against Clemson. I think Baylor beats Colgate. Hey, finally a Texas team getting a win. Much needed. Nebraska or Nevada and Dayton. I think Dayton's going to pull it off, and same thing with Arizona. Moving, excuse me. Moving on to the other side of the bracket here, TCU will knock off Utah State. TCU is a solid team. I think they could go on a bit of run. McNeil beats Gonzaga. Gonzaga was decent this year. They weren't great. I'm not sure if they're really a fifth seed type team. McNeese, or however you pronounce that school, will know here when they pull off the upset is a better team than people think. Kansas will knock off Stanford. Oregon will lose to South Carolina. Creighton, yeah. Texas will knock off Colorado State. Colorado State played really well against Virginia, so it's a possibility, but I don't see it happening. And St. Peter's will do it again. They will do it one more time and beat Tennessee. That's my big, big upset that I have happening in the first round because something crazy's got to happen. So we're going to come back up here. UConn knocks off FAU. Yale will fall to San Diego State. BYU knocks off Illinois. Drake knocks off Iowa State. Moving on to the other side over here, I think Houston will beat Nebraska. James Madison knocks off Duke. I am way too high on James Madison for a team that's probably going to lose in the first round. Let's be honest here. But I got James Madison's back. I think they can do it. Their football program put on a show this year. Their basketball program put on another one. NC State knocks off Kentucky. Woo, getting hot here. Marquette knocks off Florida to advance onward to the Sweet 16. Moving on to the bottom side of the conference, I think North Carolina handles their business. I think St. Mary's knocks off Alabama. Alabama isn't, I don't think, the greatest team. I think they're just solid, just good enough, you know. New Mexico continues their barrage on Texas, knocking off Baylor. And Texas is down to just Texas. This is crazy. Dayton will knock off Arizona as well. Moving on to the other side, TCU takes out Purdue. Purdue has not been a good tournament team. They dominated their regular season, and they suck in the tournament. I think Purdue goes down to TCU. And McNeil takes out Kansas. I think teams are a lot closer than what people think. McNeil has been very good, or however you pronounce their team name, whatever. They take out Kansas. Creighton will handle business on South Carolina, and Texas will unfortunately knock off St. Peter's. But hey, you know, getting back to that round of 32 is not bad for them. Moving on, I think UConn will knock off San Diego State again, as well as Drake will knock off BYU. Crazy, right? James Madison's Sweet 16 run ends to Houston. Houston will advance onward to face NC State in the round, or the Elite Eight. NC State moving on. I think NC State has a very good chance to go pretty deep in here. North Carolina will fall to St. Mary's, as well as Dayton to New Mexico. New Mexico is the team that's making a deep run right now. And guess what? McNeil will beat TCU and will continue onward to face off against Creighton. And might as well just start down here. I think Creighton and New Mexico State, or not State, New Mexico will win and advance onward into the Final Four. As for up here at the top side, Duke pulls off an upset, but NC State will fall to Houston as we get to the Final Four. Houston, Creighton pulls off the victory, and New Mexico beats out Drake to get to the championship matchup. New Mexico versus Creighton. New Mexico wins it all. This is crazy bracket. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's going to happen. You just watch. All right, we're going to actually now just go ahead and move on to the women, and we're going to do their bracket challenge. Obviously, I'm not saving it. I'm not logged into my ESPN app. I don't really feel like putting all my information in a video. So let's go ahead and create the women's bracket here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off. All the 1 seeds are winning. Oops. The women bracket will not be as interesting as the men's. Well, I mean, obviously all the 1 seeds won, the other ones. I'm just going to start with the top 2 up here. North Carolina versus Michigan. North Carolina will pull off this win. Oklahoma as well. The women won't be as intriguing, I don't think, as the men. I think it's a little bit more straightforward here than the men were. Marquette will be the first real upset, but everybody else feels pretty straightforward in this situation. I think Princeton can knock off Virginia, West Virginia here. Drake will be Colorado. People probably think I'm a Drake fan or something. I don't even know where they're from. That's the craziest aspect of it. Realistically, I don't see too many crazy upsets here. I think this is pretty straightforward. The women are usually a little bit more straightforward. Let's be honest. They are just generally a little bit more straightforward. And like, I know a little bit less. Like, I know Iowa and LSU pretty much because that is who's in the like modern eye. But I like to do the women's bracket because I like to be fair. You know, honestly, like I said, I don't see any crazy upsets happening here. No 1 seeds going down, I don't think, in the first round. I don't really see too many like these mid teams. Maybe Marshall pulls off an upset here, but like the women are usually very straightforward, unlike the men. The men are wild. You know, anything can happen when the men get out there. But I think the women are very much a straightforward, this is what's gonna happen type of ordeal, and this is kind of why like I'm just kind of commentating over because like I don't know. I'm honestly partially just picking the higher seeds. I think a couple crazy upsets could happen, like Marquette beating Notre Dame, but honestly, that's just to have a couple of upsets in the mix here. Honestly, I don't see any crazy stuff. Michigan pulling off the upset on USC could be a huge shocker. Baylor's still going to win, though, and Utah will beat Gonzaga. North Carolina State continues to move on with UConn. Yeah. I'm going to take Maryland. I am from Maryland, so you know what? Screw it. Why not have them keep going, right? Like, might as well be biased, because I don't know what's happening here. Might as well just be a biased human being. Let's just continue doing the whole bottom here. Get my final 2 out of the bottom. Let's move back up to the top. South Carolina, Iowa. The matchup has happened, boys. The matchup has happened. Iowa versus LSU. Iowa's going to win this game. I think Iowa wins this time. I don't see LSU beating them. Iowa gets to the finals to face South Carolina. And I think Iowa might. I think Iowa doesn't. I think Iowa pulls it off this time. But let me know what you guys think down below. How did your bracket go? Who do you have winning it all? Obviously, none of us know. It's all random guessing. But it could be fun. You know, it's just fun. It's all in good fun. So hit that follow or subscribe button. I shall see you guys in the next video.